Hello and greetings to all my dear friends. I hope you are all doing wonderfully. I am Beros Bigham, and I am very happy to be with you dear friends with the latest session of the Community Simulation Package in Architecture. In this session, we will get to know the wonderful Freehand tool and get acquainted with editing splines. Well, I'll go to the perspective view from above, go to the top view, and from the spline section, in previous sessions, we got acquainted with the ready-made presets of kettle, circle, and the wonderful line tool. There's one more tool left here that I'll tell you about. Now, I'll try to mention the section as well, and then we'll move on to the details line. Well guys, Freehand, as its name suggests, is freehand drawing. As you can see, I hold the click, and like a pencil, like a graphics tablet, this tool is at your service, and you can use it in the best way possible. Well, the options we have here. The rendering option. Such rendering and interpolation, we said, are valid and always present in all 2D subjects in this tool. The first option that comes to our use here is the shoe knock option. Selecting shoe knock, guys, shows us these nodes that you see, these modes, and I think this is very practical and useful for us. Well, we have two options for controlling this tool. The first option, now I'll draw them one by one here. Let's first see what changes we observe here, and then go for the experiment. Guys, this is currently by default. The first and second options are set to 3 and 10. I'll make this 10 to see what happens. Well, as you can see, this is our drawing method. Now if I make this one, you see that the more this number increases, now the maximum will be, I think, 10, yes. When this number increases, the number of these nodes somehow decreases as well. In a way, this decrease seems to have its sensitivity. See, I drew this now with 10. See that the number of nodes is less. But when I put this on 1, you see how many nodes there are, and the sensitivity is higher. Now, depending on the work you want to do, you can adjust your freehand and your number. Well, I'll leave this at, for example, 5 for now. And here we also have a threshold, which is by default on the highest option, which is, well, 9. This goes beyond 10 as well, I think in the end. Yes. This was at 10 now. I'll set it to 50 and start drawing. And now you see that the intensity of our drawing is no longer as smooth as before, and is acting somewhat intelligently. Now, put it on 100, and you see that it is starting to draw with a very long delay, and with less sensitivity in this way. Now I'll put this back on 10, put it on 1, yes. Now if you see these guys, the first option and the second option have a direct relationship with each other. Meaning, if I put this one with 100, this lower threshold of 100, it didn't stand out much. So I'll leave this at 20, and you see how easily, for example, now in the following sessions, we'll do an exercise together in detail to see what things we can create with these. Now, I think we can use it for drawing a path. For example, you've considered a path in this way, I'll reduce its intensity in this way. Well, our next options here, now I'll say this. What it does is that you, for example, draw a shape there. For example, you draw a box, and here you introduce it to it that it should only draw on that box. It only has 4 options here. Let's examine their states. In the options section, the first option, which is also by default on curve, means that our drawing tendency is towards curves and arcs. Now if I put this on straight mode, you see that its tendency is more towards sharp states and lines in this way. But now, if we put it in curve mode, see that at the same moment it comes and shows our drawings. Again, I activate freehand, put it on its default 3 and 10. Now if I draw on the surface, in this way, draw on the state in this way, okay, now, it also has a useful option called close, meaning that after drawing this, when you release it, it automatically comes and closes the rest in an offset state, or this close state for us. Only guys, this might become correct from the top in this way. Now, draw it in a way that these do not interfere with each other, for example, in this way. We also have an offset option here, which I don't think will be of much use to us anymore. Well, the next option here, after this, it only suffers from a bug when you press escape once. I think it will be fixed. Now let me restart all of these. I'll go back to the Freehand section again. Before activating Freehand, draw for example, now a teapot. Draw a teapot in this way. Activate Freehand, press Shunak, go to the Constant section, press this T, and select Pick Up Eject. You see the teapot has been added here, and now I disable Pick Up This. And whatever drawings you do, you see that it only comes and performs the drawing operation on this. Then, if you press the normal option, instead of this, you see that it shows its normal directions. This is also very important, I think. Well, let me increase its intensity a bit, the number of its nodes, less intensity, and in this way you see that we can perform the freehand operation on a specific subject. Okay, this is also from the help section. Well, we also have a very practical tool here called section. Well, with section, guys, its name is clear. You can extract a cross-section of the 3D action model, which is very useful in architectural work and the ArchViz industry. Well, I go to the top view, I put this in the lower right corner, the corner of a normal plan. Let's draw, for example. Well, sometimes, guys, it happens that you would like to take a section of your 3D shape. I give a material and extrude to it in this way, and now I want to take a section of this. Now the first method, if you need lines, you can assume that this is a 3D subject, a detached poly. Now I don't even have access to its lines. One way is to go with line, and with the help of snap, you can easily draw this. Only, guys, let me mention an option here that I remembered. I activate snap. Well, I put it on 3D snap once, and I draw this in this way. Well, you see what has happened when I was drawing this. Because it is on 3D snap, some places where there are two heights, it sees a height here, point in, I don't know. Here when it is on 3D snap, unfortunately it suffers from such problems, meaning some of the nodes it detects up here and some of the nodes it detects at this lower point. In order not to have this problem, 2.5 snap enters here. When you use 2.5 snap, it only considers one of these, and there is no possibility that it will pull one up and one down, so you can safely perform your drawing operation in this way. You see, and it only considered this lower point. It's as if the other one was removed. Well, let's go to our own discussion. We said we have to take a section of this now. The method is that I draw a section here in this way. Now we can change its place later. When we bring this up, you see that this is an edge slice poly that comes and cuts it for me here. And as soon as it cuts this, I come here, create sheet, give it a name, okay. Now we delete our section, and you see that we have a line in this way, with hide details. Guys, I use this technique a lot, for example, a special stucco, and its pattern. And now in the following sessions you will learn how to draw these stuccos and tools. With the help of this you can, for example, bring a ready-made model, use its section, take out that 2D line, and use it in your project with the help of the tools you will learn. Well, this also has the ability to rotate, guys. See, I draw the section, I bring it up, we have to somehow process this so that it cuts it for sure, meaning in this way, so that even this, guys, can be rotated here. Again, we need to use degree snap. I gradually use those tools that we have learned in this way, in the exercises. You see how easily I can now take a section of this in this way. Excellent. I delete it. Let's move on to getting acquainted with editing splines, guys. As we learned in the edit poly and edit geometry sessions, we said the method of editing 3D subjects is convert to edit poly. For drawing and editing drawing, we also have its own special editor for editing 2D subjects, which we can assign edit able spline here in the convert section. And you see that its parameters are accessible. I go to the selection section. It consists of 3 basic subjects. Our splines consist of 3 very important sub-branches. The first section is our vertices, which are capable of performing transform operations such as move, rotate, and now scale can be used in a special place. Our next subject is also these edges and our edges, which are also editable, and we can do everything with it. And the third option, you tell me, was the same element edit poly. Here it is also the overall spline. This is considered one spline. I consider the whole thing as one spline. Well, the options that we are working with here, guys. The options, now I'll try to tell you those useful options here. Now our first option is how to change these nodes to special models. Here I said, right-click, put it on visor, or put it on corner. This happens. Now the same thing exactly here. But please do this operation from this section. The first option is the create line. The create line's job is that we start drawing another line inside this same edit spline. Only its difference with the same regular line is that this is already attached between. You already know the topic of attach. We said that in order to start editing two shapes together, for example, here I also draw an n-gon. In order for these two to edit together, we said that one of these convert to edit poly, and in the attach section, I added this to it. Now these two are editable together. For example, I select these and, for example, perform the trim operation on it. I close it. Again, draw one riddle, cover to edit able spline, mesh spline. Well, active vertex, you said you know prit line, the same line drawing with attach, and attach is what you know. Attach multi, we also said attach all, meaning if you have 10 splines here, you no longer need to click one by one, you press all multi and select them from the list here. You do all of these so much that we just want to introduce it to you. Here, while the break option, as it was in edit poly, is also here, these are now welded together. If I select it and press break, it is no longer welded together. You see guys, if you also press Shift and G, this highlight and this line and frame that they have drawn around these go away. If this bothers you, be sure to delete it. Shift and G Hattie. Shift and G is it. These we have now said we have pricked. And now in order to weld them together, we bring them as close as possible and press weld, and this is now welded. Well, our connect discussion, now in these vertex states, I don't use connect much. Our inset option, you see that we can create new nodes here with the help of this. Well, let me go back to Earth Control. I go to the top view, the inset option from this. I create a vertex, as if in this way, it's as if you select this vertex and select another vertex from its heart. And you can model your shape. Our next option is make first. Guys, make for's job is that, for example, they select this, and I press the make the first option, meaning the first node as the first node. You select this. Said it doesn't have much special application. This sometimes, for example, in the rotational state, you see that the first vertex, when it is as make vers, the rotation operation comes and is selected from the first node. Sometimes, for example, when it puts that first node on this option, I'm first donum, for example, the rotation method is reversed. In those kinds of places we can use it. We have a fuse section here. Fuse guys, I, for example, select these two. And when I press fuse, you see that it converts the 2 to 1 vertex or several to 1 vert x. And this is very useful and wonderful. Now if I want to, for example, delete this here, weld these together here, for example, connect works. See, I select connect and connect these to each other in this way. But now the easy option, if you want these to become one, we said we can use the fuse option. Select 2, press fuse, and it automatically comes and performs the one operation. Yes guys, here I think these are no longer welded. We have to weld them after we have done fuse. Be sure to do weld as well so that our spline is closed here. Well, our next option, now crossing certum, which is not very useful to us here, now here, name Brett Sazi, or it doesn't have any application. Filter. Filter also comes and brings your edges from a sharp state to smoothness in this way. I select it and apply flat to it in this way. Well guys, you can give Tony Bick connection to the number in the same way, and also give it a number. And our next option is chamfer. Chamfer also comes in a faceted state. Let me delete it. For example, let's draw an NGN. Draw an NGN cover. Toad it, spline breast activated. Chamfer is also activated here. Now you see it acts in this way. If there was a pure sharp state here, we could see 2, for example. They all select chamfer. You see I come from the infill. Excellent. Well, this is also from the 2 very practical options. Let's move on to the segments. In the segment section, these options are also the same repeated options. Now guys, some of the options you see are not active, meaning we don't have the ability to use it in this topic, meaning it is not useful to us at all. And these options are specific to, for example, vertex, specific to, for example, spline. Here, atlaid is specific to spline. Well, the option that is very useful to us here is the rein option. Rein, guys, its job is to add a new node here. It's really practical. I use this refi a lot. Well, now maybe you say that, well, what do? Let me draw a plan of architecture again. Okay, guys. Now here I see this has become crooked. For editing it, I first come to Covert Edit Polyline. I select this point. We have many ways. I introduce 2 ways to you here. What to do at such times. One is that I should now give the coordinate axis x of this lower node exactly on the x-axis, exactly in this direction. So they click on this RASC and copy the coordinate axis x and perform the paste operation on this, and it goes exactly into that angle. Now one of its methods is also using this option, snap far the active axis can trans. And here I can say that, sir, it is exactly aligned with this. Let's see, for example, here crooked in this shape. I want to be exactly aligned with this. I select it with this. Select its opposite axis first, in this safe after. Also in this safe. You see how easy it is? Well, we wanted to take help from Riffid, so I'll now go to the segment section. I activate the refine option. Guys, refine also works very well with snap. Here, for example, you can say that it should also be active in the midpoint. I should now exactly put a vertex in the middle. Guys, here in refine, we add text to any place we add a point. When we apply the extrude operation to this, the same point seems to have a connect after giving volume to us. So here I can close the snap now. For example, we want to put a window here. I say 1 here, breast, 1 here, also breast a door. For example, I want to put it here. 1 door here, 1 vertexin, 1 here. Now you can also give the number with numbers. You also know the number, guys. It doesn't have anything special. Here I, for example, select this. I put it here. I activate ast here. I say in the axis X, for example, go 1 meter, this verter. Well, and now when I come to this and apply extrude to it, you see the places where I hit Ray Yin came and exactly dropped connect there. And this makes our work very easy. And now I can do combat edit poly here. You see how much it is connected to each other. Now the spline and our work is finished. We want to take it to a geometry state, so we can easily give the cavert yet bowl ply and work on it. Here, for example. Here let's assume that a door is in this shape. I take it further back. One time with testlet, I give it a few more stages of facilitation. This for I activate these, and here, inset with polygon in this shape, you see I keep shift pressed and I was able to easily model now a window or anything that is here. Well, let's not get away from our discussion. I drew cattle again, guys. Now, maybe you say that, well, why are you drawing ready-made prists? Aren't you taking help from line? Because, guys, line itself, we said in the previous session, does not need converting to covert spline. I go to the Sodich. You see we are faced with a huge amount of information, and this itself has those options of selection and geometry and editor and everything inside. Well, we learned refi. There's no special option here. I don't think Don, let me tell you detach M. Let me tell you then. Detach is the same as its opposition. Press this. Detach, okay? This separated from this family, and now you can use it separately. Sit down, guys. When we press connects, it was automatically doing the weld operation. Again, we have the same repeated options. Here we have very attractive options called atlaid and boolean and trim operations. I go to the top view as usual, active line, active architectural plan, and I draw it, guys. When we select this in the spline section, it has a very practical section. Spillin. Hey, did you see that I checked this part? After your work is finished, be sure to write this. Check that your spill line is closed, or that closed is written here, because we said we have more work with closed pack spill lines than open ones. Now, if you want a special project, now I'll tell you, For example, what can be done in Spline and open? Now the shell comes up. It doesn't take that inside thickness anymore. Open Spline, check here that closed is written. Did you see that open is written? Understand that there's something wrong, and you must definitely do the lead operation. Well, here I selected the Spline, and here atlaid. And when you give it a PAL, you activate it. You see that the ID code offset WU card. You can give it a sideline of a certain size, whether outwards or inwards. We always do this in these architectural plans. After all, it doesn't become a single line. So you can see here, this point that was here, guys. You see that it was also applied in that outer line. Refanes, please, if you want to specify the places of the windows through refane, please first apply Fine to it. And then give atlaid, so that those nodes are applied in the other line, so that we can easily select these later. Because if we don't give these, our work will be more difficult later. With this Atina that I gave, after our work is finished. Deactive. After I give extrude to it. You see that in this way, for example, 3 and 2 plans of architecture of mine are how easily usable. Now tell me what to do with its floor, guys, before giving atlaid. I've taken a copy of this. Now I take a copy of it from my outside. In this shape, I definitely detach it. Excellent. This is more ready, and now I also give extrude to this. Now, for example, the extrum of 210. This, for example, its ceiling, its thing. And we always said to put its place in its center, I Rocky F pivot only center, to upchecked, active snap palm. I'll remove this option. I don't need it for now. You see how easily we were able to draw a plan of architecture for the first time in seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute, very good too. Well, let's say a section of spline again. How much did it get? 3. This is good for now. I think we still have 10 more minutes to work together. And then you'll go for a break, guys. Put in the time for these sections. These are laid for us. They come from our main tools. We totally have 2 main issues inside of Max. One of which is Geometry's Haven, our 3-dimensional tools. One of which is also this spline. If I learn these 2, all models we can draw other things. In very, very special shapes, you need new tools. With the help of these 2, all the models that are needed, you can easily do them. Well, here guys, I come and draw a Komengol, a cycle. I also draw here, anon. I also draw here. I also hit them with G, so that this thing of mine goes away. I also hit Shift and G, so that the highlights around me come. Of course not. Let this go away for now. They're bothering, and I also take a copy of this in this shape here. Now we want to apply the reduction, or boulon here, and give it to it. Well, in what shape then? One of these comber edit, poly attach multi, all select, I hold Shift and click until the end. They all select. Now in order to thing these together, I activate ASIC Munt and I select them all. And now you see that the Bolin option and Miro and this story are active. I put it on the rate subcat, for example. Well, if I hit Polin, you see it comes and takes subtraction from this. Or, for example, I put it on the interpression state. I say intersection state. This comes and performs the operation. You see it performs the sharing for us. Now the next one, which is onion. This is also the colleague who seems to be attaching it, sharing them together in this shape. Very practical and excellent. Guys, these Boolean options, our work is now finished. I must check to see if we have open nodes here or not. I select, and you see that we don't have an open node in Boolean. It closed these nodes intelligently, and now we can give atlaid and extrude to it. Our plan is ready. Well, now tell me what to do with the shoe, guys. Before giving atlaid, you should have taken a copy of this. Now I'll take a copy of it from the one outside of me. In this shape, I definitely detach it. Great, this is ready. And now I also give extrude to this. Now extrum, for example. 210, this, for example, its ceiling, its thing. And we always said to put its place in its center. I Rocky F pivot, only center. To upchecked. Active snap palm. I'll remove this option. I don't need it for now. You see how easily we were able to draw? A plan of architecture in seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute, very excellent too. Well, let's also say a section of spline. How much did it get? See. This is good for now. I think we still have 10 more minutes to work together, and then you go to rest, guys. Lay in the time for these sections in God's name. These are laid for us. They come from our main resources. We totally have 2 main issues inside of Max. One of which is Geometry's Haven, our 3-dimensional tools. One of which is also this spline. If I learn these 2, all the models we can draw other things. In very, very special shapes, you need new tools. With the help of these 2, all the models that are needed, you can easily do them. Well, here guys, I come in the top view. I draw a kettle in this shape, one in this shape, one for example. In this shape, I'm going to spline in the compound shape section. Shaby polyan bar, shepolin, for example. Onion, add operation active. I say take this one away from this one from this one also from this one. How easy and practical. Or now control it, I say to take a share from these. Their share would be exactly this part. With this, its share is here. Or this with this. Their share is this. With this notes also those that don't share with each other also. You see that no changes are made. Come here. We can reduce these from Satrock recreation. How excellent and practical. This also from this section. Guys, the Boolean section is in 3-dimensional subjects. Its main one belongs to 3-dimensional subjects, which is usable in 2-dimensional subjects. In new versions also, I draw a few, for example, boxes. In this shape, this for example, assume it's now in a box, or a place of a window. Everything is usable here. I use a lot of this Boolean in the heart of projects. I'll just give an introduction. Then I'll tell you, here in the geometry section, you put the create standard on the Kapan dock. In the shape also, it was exactly this Kapan docked. Here we have 2 attractive options, Boolean and Pervin. They don't have much difference with each other, but Pro has a few special capabilities. But both of them are ID, all, almost everything. Just guys. Sometimes with one, you don't get a result. Try it with the other one. We'll definitely get a result. Here, for example, I put this on Saptech. Here we must do the operation that we want to be done on this box. For example, union adding, interaction sharing, or sati shatter shun, recreation. Put it on Satter action. I have selected the main shape that I want to be reduced from it. And I say, start pick. You see with the ease of drinking water, it comes and makes these editable, talk, goodbye. We reach the end of today's session. I hope these sessions have been useful for you. In the next session, we're going to get to know the practical Maka.